On Point with Richardson ISD welcomes Executive Director of Special Student Services, Dr. Cindy Lawrence. Thank you for spending some time with us today, Dr. Lawrence.
Thank you for having me.
To start us off, parents may have seen news reports recently about the state of Texas target or cap for school districts related to the percentage of students who receive special education services. Can you explain what exactly that is, and is it an actual cap that school districts should not exceed?
Well, it really is not a cap. It is more of a target. We have some rating systems to let districts know how they're doing in certain areas of special education and other areas of education. It's called the Performance-Based Monitoring System. And this is one of the measurements that the state collects data on and gives us feedback on it. But it is not a cap. There's no expectation that you would cut off services for any students based on that number. It's just a target.
Okay, all right. So over the years, how has this 8.5% target from the state impacted Richardson ISD?
It really hasn't had much impact on Richardson ISD. We have never had to write a corrective action plan, and we are above the state. We're at 10.5. 10.5% of our students here in Richardson are students with disabilities, and they receive special education services. And that number is slightly higher than the 8.5%, but it has not been cause for alarm or cause for us to have to make a report to the state.
Okay. So over the last 10 years, we see that while Richardson has remained above the 8.5% state target of students receiving special ed services, the percentage of students served has gone down by about 1.5%. What are some of the reasons for the reduction over the last 10 years?
Well, it has been a slow decrease, and it's kind of stabilized at 10.5, but yes, indeed, it has come down about a 1.5 percentage points from about 12, a high of 12, I believe. And the reason mainly can be attributed to the changes that the district made in response to IDEA 2004. It's the reauthorization of the special ed law that really directs districts to do early intervening for students who might have difficulty in general ed. And Richardson has done a lot of new interventions since 2004, including our new dyslexia program that captures a lot of students who may have had ongoing long-term reading problems, but because they have been treated with a program for students with dyslexia, they have become fluent readers and they have stayed on par with their general ed peers. It's also a case of us identifying more students who just need accommodations. Let's say a student with ADHD might need some support in the classroom, but they don't need special education. They need some accommodations, and we have responded to their needs through a 504 plan. And the number of students we have with 504 plans has increased about the same percentage as our decrease in special ed. So those students' needs are being met in general ed.
I see. Some parents, Dr. Lawrence, have wondered if school districts like Richardson ISD can save money by not providing special education services to students. Can you address that from the district standpoint?
Sure. I know that the state standpoint for money is much different than the district. At the district level, we are funded for special education based on the number of students we have and then the types of services they qualify for. So having less students doesn't mean that we have any financial incentive. In fact, we get funding on a per student basis.
How does Richardson ISD determine which students receive special education services?
Well, we follow the law, which is IDEA 2004. It lays out very clearly a process in which we evaluate students who might have disabilities. It even points us to the right kinds of professionals. We have a staff of diagnosticians and licensed specialists in school psychology. They're sometimes referred to it as LSSPs. And they do the evaluations for students who might have a disability and make a recommendation.
Okay. Does a student with a learning difference or a disability typically receive special education services?
Well, that depends. Based on the evaluation and what is determined that the student needs. Sometimes the student needs an intervention that can happen in general ed, such as our dyslexia program. Other times the student may need some specially designed instruction, and that falls under special education. And then we would have a meeting with the parents to discuss that.
Okay. One final question for you. What should a parent in RISD do if they think their child might need special education services?
That's a good question. Absolutely anyone in the school can help them. It is important that you always talk to your child's teacher, because that teacher may be seeing some similar things, and that teacher can certainly support any referral that needs to be made. The school counselor can certainly help a parent through the process of asking for an evaluation. The school administrator, the assistant principal, they're all there to help parents in these situations. So really anybody in the school can help a parent start that process to make that decision, does the student have a disability?
Okay. Thank you for your expertise and your insight, Dr. Lawrence.
Well, thank you for having me.